I grew up in Kalamazoo, Michigan, fictitious city, Kalamazoo, which I think is in a couple country songs. But I grew up playing hockey. I grew up on the end of a lake, and in this, never played Little League baseball until age 10. And so at age 9, T-ball started. Well, my dad never said anything, never forced me to anything. I played hockey and then swam and chased turtles and fished and all that stuff in the woods. So at age 10, he said, "You want to play baseball?" I says, "Yeah." So we had to go to tryout camp. Go to this Little League tryout camp, and I look back there and I see a guy with catching gear on. I thought of hockey goalie. I said, "I'll try that position." I was recruited out of high school like crazy because I played 4 sports. Played football, All-American twice, played basketball, All-American twice, played baseball in the spring, and ran track in the spring. So all I did was catch and pitch. So I'd have my track uniform half the time under my baseball uniform because the baseball field was up here and the track field was down there. And I'd do all the big track meets and all that. Long jump, high jump, 440, 220, mile relay, all that kind of stuff. So I'd play a baseball game from 4 to 6, 6:30. Go in the locker room, take my baseball uniform off. Already have my track uniform underneath, put my track shoes on. My mom would bring me an orange and a glass of a cup of hot tea, and boom, I'd go down the hill and get into the event. Got into college and played baseball and basketball at University of Michigan. Went there on a football scholarship, never played football. The new coach who came in was a 3 yards and a cloud of dust running the tag. So as a split end, he wasn't going to play, so I go off for fall baseball. So I'm going to play fall baseball, and you can play varsity as a freshman in University of Michigan. So then, the first day we run 60-yard wind sprints to see what kind of foot speed you had. And I didn't know what a 60 was. The only thing I knew a time for was a 100-yard dash and a 220-yard dash and a 440-yard dash. And I was the fastest guy in my area. So I was a lot thinner than what I am now. Built more like you, Mike.
Whoa.
So tall,
a real greyhound. Huh?
Yeah, I was a real greyhound. So 6'3", 190. The coach runs us, and I run a 6'3", 560. And he goes, "You can run a little bit." Well, I never thought too much of it. I thought I was fast. So we run another one. I run a 6'4", and he goes, "What position do you play?" I go, "Coach, I'm your starting catcher." He looks at me and goes, "No, you're not. That kid over there, he's all Big Ten. He's the starting catcher." And I said, one of those type of deals. I says, "Well, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to sit for 2 years behind this guy. I'm a switch hitting catcher who could run." And he goes, "Do you got an outfield glove?" I says, "No." He says, "You better get an outfield glove. I don't have 2 nickels rubbed together. So I got to get an outfield glove." He goes, "You're my starting center fielder." So I says, "I never played outfield a day in my life." He says, "Well, you better learn how to play outfield because you're too fast to be a catcher." And then I was drafted by the Tigers. I was drafted by the Tigers out of University of Michigan, and started in Lakeland, Florida, and high A, so I had the luxury of skipping all the low-level stuff. And the rookie ball stuff and the low minor stuff. Started at high A, hit 3 and some change, and then my first full year was double A and hit good in double A. And then I hit good in triple A, and then I'm in the big leagues in 2 years, 3 months. Stayed with Detroit for 2 years, took over for LK Line in right field for Detroit. And my locker is right next to his. And I was too nervous, too scared, too stupid, too whatever to tap into a Hall of Fame type of hitter. And one of my few regrets in this game. But then I got traded to Houston Astros, who I currently work for now as a AAA hitting coach for Houston. 2 years in Houston, got traded to Seattle Mariners, played 3 years in Seattle, loved it up there. And then I got traded from Seattle to the Texas Rangers, where I currently live. I like Texas. You can hunt, fish, and golf. The weather's halfway good. We're in Tornado Alley, one of the few bad things. But played for the Rangers and finished up in Kansas City. Well, I get into pro ball, now they start doing all these physicals, and I'd stab my eye with my jackknife when I was a kid. And lo and behold, now you're playing all night games. Well, that ball didn't look quite as good at night. In some of those minor league ballparks, as you all know, those lights, you got about 20 lights on in the stadium, and the slider spin and the changeup spin and the two-seam spin and all that kind of stuff, which I wasn't fully acclimated to. That was a toughie, so I had to figure out how to hit with subpar vision. The funny sideline to this part of it was I was paranoid about getting released because I didn't have decent eyesight. And you hear these stories in the Army, a guy got kicked out of the Army because of flat feet, or got kicked out of the Army because of this, or kicked out of the Army because out of the Air Force because he can't see. And I'm thinking, I'm going to get kicked out or released out of pro ball because I can't see. And so when they line 250 players up in a row to go through the physicals for the eye test, you got one nurse there, and it's go, read line 7, okay, pass. Read line 7, okay, pass. Read line 7, okay, pass. Well, I was just barely smart enough to go sneak up, way up close, memorize line 7, get back in line, and when it's, okay, Roberts, I get up there, and I'm going Q, W, M, P, Z, Y, Z, like I knew what I was doing. Okay, Roberts, pass. I'm going, oh, dodged the bullet again. I did that for like 10 years. Dodging the eye test until they finally caught me in New York. And my last year, I'm going to retire at the end of the year in New York. And all the position players were instructed to go to the ballpark at 10 o'clock for this amazing vision exam. They're testing all the hitters in pro baseball in New York. So we go there, and we got a big old clipboard with our chart. It's an eye test. So you got all these stations you got to go through, and there's an optometrist at every station. So I get in there, and I stick my thing in the first thing, and I think I'm doing good, and I go to the next station, and we got a big old something, and I think I'm doing pretty good, and go to the next station, and finally about station 5, the doctor goes, what are you doing in here? I go, what do you mean? We're instructed to be here. He goes, you're a pitcher. I go, I'm not a pitcher. He goes, you can't see a lick. I says, I see fine. He goes, you're cheating. You're not supposed to be in here. You're a pitcher. I go, look at these calluses. Man, I got calluses everywhere. I'm a hitter. And the guy goes, you're flunking. I go, I'm not flunking. I'm hitting about 270. What do you mean I'm flunking? He goes, you can't see a lick. I said, well, can I go do the test over? So I go back to station 1 and go through the whole thing. He goes, you can't see at all. I says, well, who sees good? He goes, well, George Brett and William Mays Aikens are 1-2 in the American League in eyesight. He goes, you're at the bottom of the pile. How do you even see the ball to hit the sucker? Well, that's a big requirement to being a hitter. What I figured out is whenever I played catch and my buddy caught the ball, I'd watch him throw that thing back to me. So I'd throw the ball back to him, and then I'd watch him, and I got used to watching a ball like this, whereas most cases a hitter is taught to look at the face and then shift over to there and pick and the arm comes through so darn fast, it's hard to really get a focus on whatever. So the trick I had to use was go down to the bullpen and track bullpens, watch playing catch. I'd go in and I'd hit 2, track 1, hit 3, track 1. I'd go in and track off machines. I'd do everything I could to try to get at least a decent pitcher on the ball. I'd kept it hidden because it's like guys get released for injuries or performance, or a pitcher with a sore shoulder or a back injury. And I didn't want to get released for bad eyesight because I had a pretty darn good swing, I thought. But and my eyesight was my eyesight, so I didn't know what was good, what was bad. I just figured I was good enough to get by, good enough to survive, good enough to hit a couple line drives out there off pitchers, and my batting average was halfway decent most years, and so I just went from there.